Welcome to Downtown Sports. My name is Downtown Stephen Brown, and in today's video, guys, Maple Leafs training camp has gotten underway, and this article from Jonas Siegel on The Athletic from September the 15th really interests me because he's talking about odd men out here and who are locks from the forward group to make the opening night lineup. And there's a lot of names there that you would expect to be there, but Wayne Simmonds at the end, to me, is the most interesting. And it's not because I don't like Wayne Simmonds or I don't respect the skill set that he brings to a lineup. It's important to have a diverse forward group, and the Maple Leafs certainly don't have very many players with the same type of skill set that he does. So he is useful, and I'm a big believer that not every player on every line needs to contribute to driving the play. It would be nice if you could have all of that, but sometimes you just need good complementary players who you can shelter situationally, and as long as you use them correctly, they could be valuable members of your team. I think the problem that the Maple Leafs ran into last year is that they had too many of those guys that they needed to play situationally and shelter, and were complementary at the same time, especially in their bottom six, and it really weighed on them when they had injuries, especially when the top guys weren't performing. And you can see that Wayne Simmonds' most common line mates from last season was some kind of combination of Ilya Mikheyev and Pierre Engvall. And if we're looking at this player at 5-on-5, we're going to hold off on talking about the power play for a couple of minutes now, but they were able to get positive value offensively and defensively from Wayne Simmonds in the role that he played last year. But if we're looking at the percentage of ice time that he spent playing against other teams' top players, it was among the lowest of Maple Leaf forwards. So the defensive value that they got from him wasn't him shutting down other teams' best players. It was him shutting down other teams' middle of the lineup type players, and that still has a place in your lineup. That still is valuable. Against middle of the lineup type competition, he controlled the majority of the shot attempt share in his own right and relative to the rest of his teammates. And when it comes to the quality of those shot attempts, he also controlled the majority of those in his own right and relative to the rest of his teammates. So he was a useful player defensively against other teams' middle of the lineup type players. The Maple Leafs are going to need players like that in their lineup in both the regular season and in the playoffs in order to be successful. The only problem that I have is that when watching that series against Montreal last year, he was maybe noticeable for a couple of hits that he threw early on in the series, but as that series went on, I noticed him less and less and less, and he just wasn't effective. And because the Maple Leafs didn't use him very much and he wasn't effective playing against other teams' better players, I can't feel confident in placing him on the line that would be more of a shutdown line with both Ilya Mikheyev and David Kampf. So then maybe he becomes a secondary option on that line, but at the same time, he doesn't kill penalties either. So if we're talking about special teams, he was excellent there on the power play to start the season, being a good complementary piece, playing in front of the net, but after his injury, he really struggled to handle the puck, and he wasn't the greatest skater to begin with. So what was then happening was the other team was just doubling up on the side of the blue line where he wasn't, and that put extra pressure on that puck carrier. And the Maple Leafs couldn't get the puck in the zone, they couldn't get set up, they lost momentum, they wasted time on those power plays, and they just weren't able to be effective. And to me, dumping the puck in on the power play is just not an option, because the penalty killers are already playing back. They're already conceding the blue line if you can break into the zone with speed. It doesn't make sense to turn a situation where you have numbers, where you have a man up, into a 50-50 puck battle with players that are already playing further back. So if you have someone who just can't handle the puck and who can't carry it, you're just making it harder on your other players on the power play. And hopefully Wayne Simmonds has worked with the medical staff and he is better, and maybe he's improved to a point where he's even better than what he was coming into last season. Hopefully he's better than what he was to end last year, because if he's not, that's going to be a problem. So I don't know if he's going to be on the power play next season. If he is, I think the problem that a lot of people are going to have with that is that you have other options, right? What's on the screen right now are forwards in the NHL from last season sorted by power play time on ice percentage. So what the stat is showing you is that it's the percentage of the time on ice that these players spend on the power play relative to how much time their team spends on the power play. And for there to be 17 other guys in the NHL that get a bigger piece of the pie of their team's power play time on ice, to me, is ridiculous. This is what, Austin Matthews' 6th year in the league, and the team can't figure out that he's the best goal scorer in the entire league? And they can't give him the same percentage of ice time as guys like Ovechkin and Draisaitl, guys that he competed for the Rocket Richard with last year and beat? Got a higher percentage of ice time on the power play, and he still beat them. You know, we had this discussion going into last year where we were saying where Matthews and Marner don't play as much as guys like Draisaitl and McDavid. And the Maple Leafs' response to that was to give Austin Matthews time on the penalty kill? What are you doing? Give him more time on the power play. Maybe you don't want to give Mitch more time on the power play because he's already your number one penalty killer and he already plays more minutes than anyone else at 5-on-5. And yeah, he does make a lot of money and he does need to earn that, but at the same time, maybe it's a little bit too much responsibility. So maybe you don't give him more time on the power play, but at the same time, there is no reason why opportunities and ice time and shifts should be taken away from guys like John Tavares and William Nylander, who both do not kill penalties, and be given to guys like Joe Thornton, Wayne Simmonds, and Jason Spezza. I love all of those guys, but they are not John Tavares or William Nylander. There is no reason why guys like John Tavares and William Nylander should be receiving that small of a portion of the total time on ice that you spend on the power play. Where does John Tavares even rank in the NHL? 79th. There are 78 forwards in the NHL who receive a higher percentage of their team's time on ice on the power play than John Tavares. And then I got people yelling at me in my comment section about why his goals are down from one season to the other. Doesn't make any sense. Why is his total ice time down? He led the league his first year here in even strength goals, or 5-on-5 goals, or whatever it was. Why are you playing him less? What is he? He turned 30 this year, or 31, whatever it is. Play him. He's making $11 million. Please. I don't know why they need to galaxy brain this so much for. He's one of the top forwards in the NHL, is he not? This is getting me mad. September the 16th, I haven't been this mad about the Leafs since they got eliminated back in May. But to get this video back to what it was about at the beginning, and that's where Wayne Simmonds fits into the lineup, I'm not 100% sure, right? But that's not necessarily a bad thing. The ability to have your lineup and have flexibility available to you and keep things fluid is not a bad thing. It's a good thing, especially when you're getting towards, the middle part of the season. You got some injuries building up. The ability to kind of just plug and play guys wherever and have some chemistry and have some success is a good thing. And if you've noticed throughout this video here on the Armchair GM in the top right corner that the Maple Leafs have a negative amount of cap space with this current roster, it's because they need to send somebody down. And all of the forwards who they currently have on their roster would require waivers. So if Wayne Simmonds is a lock, I never had him as being placed on waivers. No, I had him as the team's extra forward, and there's nothing wrong with that. A guy like Jason Spezza had it baked into his contract last year that he needed off days. He couldn't play every day. And the way that the Maple Leafs were able to afford that was that they placed him on waivers and had his agent say that he would retire if anyone claimed him. And that's how they were able to give Jason Spezza off days last year. So then the decision on who to place on waivers between both Brooks and Engvall, because they both play center, is going to come down to what the team prioritizes and what they value to start the season. And Kyle Dubas did say earlier on in the offseason that he would like a little bit more cap space to play with throughout the season because it makes it easier to accrue and accumulate cap space to make trades at the deadline later on in the season. But he's also able to afford to give guys days off without placing them on waivers. But if the team thinks it needs another penalty killer, then maybe they place Brooks on waivers and they keep a guy like Engvall around. At the same time, if they lose one of them, or both of them in a goofy scenario, there are players behind them that can take their spot. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think about the power play situation down in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think about Wayne Simmonds seeming to be a lock for the opening night roster down in the comment section below. And as always, make sure to like the video if you did like it and subscribe for more, because more is always on the way. And guys, about a month away.